Welcome you all to the lecture series on computer communication networks. So, till now we have considered the concepts of the data link layer services and the protocols that is implemented at data link layer in specific, and we have discussed the concepts of the connecting devices. Now we shall look into the further topic, which is network layer, which deals with the set of protocols and the functionalities and the services provided at the network layer of TCP/IP model. Hello guys, myself Abhilash KJ, Assistant Professor, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, will host you guys through the session. For more video contents on computer communication network, you can visit my YouTube channel. So first we shall consider the introduction to the network layer. In introduction to the network layer, as we have already discussed, the basic concept of the computer communication has evolved over the years. So initially when computer network concepts came into picture, the definition of network was confined to one geographical area. But as the need to communicate beyond the network came into picture, that's where the network layer operation came into prominence. So thus, we shall look into the details and in-depth discussion on network layer with respect to the TCP/IP protocol suite. As per the basic function of network layer that is defined in TCP/IP protocol suite, the network layer is responsible for host-to-host or end-to-end delivery of the datagram. So the term host-to-host delivery here means an end device to an end device, that is from source to destination. Thus, the network layer guarantees the transmission as well as the reception from an sender to the receiver. So, inherent to the basic principle of TCP/IP model, every individual layer receives the services from the lower layer and provides services to the upper layer. That is, if we speak of network layer is preceded by transport layer, which is your upper layer, and which is followed by the network layer is followed by the data link layer in the TCP/IP protocol suite. Thus, the network layer provides services to the transport layer and it receives the services offered by the data link layer. So in this particular video lecture series on network layer, we shall discuss the concepts, the network layer services, the various services that is provided by network layer comprising of the packet switching, how exactly the packetization is done, the routing and forwarding functions, and other services that are offered. Then we have the packet switching, how exactly it is different from circuit switching. In implementation, the two ways of implementing packet switching, one in terms of datagram approach and second one is in terms of the virtual circuit approach, followed by the different metrics or the parameters that is used to measure the network layer performance. And then we shall consider one of the prime responsibility of network layer in terms of IPv4 addressing. And finally, we'll consider how exactly dependent on IPv4 addresses the data is forwarded. So, as I have clearly stated, the network layer offers host-to-host delivery of the datagrams or packets. And one prime thing I mentioned earlier, the concept of or the prominence of network layer comes into picture when we take into consideration the communication beyond the network. If the communicating parties, that is source and destinations, are within the network, the network layer does not has the major functionality since the communication is within the network. So it is easier for a source to know the physical address of the destination. But same is not true with respect to the communication beyond the network. The source in one network want to communicate to the destination which is in the different network altogether. So on that note, the complete network is called as an inter-network communication. So on that note, we need to have the set of connecting devices. So thus, we can call internet as the collection of hosts along with the link layer switches as well as the routers or the network layer switches. So in order to understand how exactly the network layer routing is implemented, we shall consider an example which we have already seen in data link layer also. The same example will be illustrated here, the same diagram will be illustrated here, but in terms of the network layer performance, it will be explained. So for that, we will be making use of the following legends. The first one indicates routers, which is a network layer device, connecting device. Then we have a LAN switch, that is local area network switch, which is functional inside the network. Then we have wide areas network switch, that is WAN switch. When you are connecting two different LANs, on that node, we can make use of wide area network switch on a larger geographical area. Then we have the point-to-point link indication for WAN. These are the legends we will be making use in the following diagram. So I have taken an example wherein one of the user named Alice, which is in the separate in a lab or in some part of the world, she want to communicate to the other user, which we are calling it as Bob. He is in the different network altogether. So if they want to communicate, they want to have the establishment of connection between them. On that note, the communication could not be implemented at the data link layer itself, as they belong to the two different networks. Here, the communication has to happen across the internet, which is made of many networks, that is links, connected through the connecting devices. So internet here comprises of many networks which are connected by making use of different links and the connecting devices. So in other words, I can say internet is nothing but a combination of local area networks and the wide area networks. So here the local area network has the functionality of availing or facilitating the communication within the network. Wide area networks will connect different local area networks to enable the communication among two different networks, that is inter-networking. So now to understand the role of the network layer here, that is we can also refer it as inter-network layer. First we should understand the connecting devices that are required to connect the local area network with wide area networks. So the connecting device we will be making use is a router. So here in order to reach Bob, Alice has to go through the multiple networks which are comprising of the connecting devices. So here each individual wide area network may have routers which will have connection to the other ISPs, that is internet service providers, out of which the route has to be selected to the feasible one. So if these two users, that is Alice and Bob, are separated by a very long distance and a very large geographical area, on that note, from regional ISP, that is two other ISP, could be a local ISP or a regional ISP, from where the data has to be forwarded to the national ISP. So thus from national ISP, once again the data is forwarded to the regional ISP of the destination device here, that is Bob. From there the data will be delivered to the particular user here. So thus we can clearly say, in order to facilitate the communication from Alice to Bob, the data has to go through a set of link layer switches and the network layer switches or the network layer routers. So here in this case we have considered that the data is forwarded across router R2, R4, R5 and R7 to finally reach the bob. So how exactly the forwarding is done, we'll discuss that thing in detail in the subsequent sections of the network layer services. So thus at the source part, the data will be generated at the application layer and it is encapsulated by the lower layers. That is, application data is encapsulated at transport layer. It will add its own information to it. Then it is encapsulated by network layer, data link layer and physical layer. And that particular data is forwarded to the router. As we have clearly discussed in the connecting devices, router is a three-layer switch or a three-layer device. That means it is operational at physical layer, data link layer and the network layer. So thus any connecting device does not has intelligence or does not has permission to open everything that it receives. So the major function of the connecting device is to facilitate the movement of frames from one point to the another point. So they are not the end users. That is why the router here, since it is a three-layer device, it has three functional layers, that is physical layer, data link layer and the network layer. So at physical layer it performs the operation of a hub, that is regenerating the signal, the corrupted signal or the weak signal. At the data link layer it will perform the filtering dependent on the MAC addresses, that is physical addresses of the interfaces, and at the router level, that is at the network layer, it will check the intended what decision has to be taken on which particular port the data has to be forwarded so that it will reach the intended network. So at the routers are aimed at the delivery of the datagrams from one network to the another network so that it can reach the destination. Since Bob belongs to some other network here, so R2 will take into consideration the destination address of the Bob in order to select the next network in which or the next router in which the data has to be forwarded. So it will receive the data from allies and it will interpret the given information until the network layer. It will decapsulate if it is required. Then it will forward the data to the next device, connecting device in the path, that is your router R4. Router R4 will forward the data to router R5, from where it will be forwarded to R7, and finally from router R7 the data is given to the network layer of the Bob. So initially I had mentioned network layer in the TCP/IP protocol suite is responsible for end-to-end delivery or the host-to-host delivery. I can clearly say here the network layer of allies is connected to the network layer of the Bob. Thus, the data delivery here, the data packet delivery is from network layer of allies to the network layer of the Bob. In this way, the communication is implemented in the network layer. Next, we shall consider the different services that are provided at the network layer or the duties of the network layer. So the duties of network layer could be summarized under headings. First one is packetizing. Since we are speaking of the concept of encapsulation and decapsulation, the network layer receives the segments or the streams, bit streams from the transport layer. That is, we refer the data unit at transport layer as the segments. So those segments are received by the network layer receives the transport layer segment and encapsulates the transport layer segments into the network layer datagrams. So when encapsulation is done, the network layer will add its own information to the packet or the datagram. It will have the source addresses, it will have the destination addresses and other fields in accordance with any of the protocol we are making use of, which we call it as IP protocol. Dependent on the version, that is IPv4 or IPv6, it will add the additional information in order to facilitate the routing of the information in the network so that the subsequent network layer will understand the type of operation that has to be performed. Then we have other responsibility, that is routing and forwarding. As I have clearly mentioned, the network layer major service that is offered is in terms of routing and forwarding. So the term routing here means that every individual connecting device or the host network layer has to identify the path the packet should traverse in order to reach the intended destination. So the suitable path has to be identified. Then we have the responsibility or the duty of the forwarding. So the connecting devices here has to relay the packet or has to forward the packet in a such a way dependent on the routing information it has obtained, so that it will reach the intended destination. So we'll look into the both the responsibilities in detail and what is the difference between the same. Then we'll consider the other services in terms of error control, flow control, congestion control, and the quality of service, and finally the security. So coming to the concept of packetizing, the first duty of network layer is packetizing. So the prime responsibility of any particular layer is to perform the encapsulation as well as the decapsulation. So the term packetizing here means it is a process of encapsulating the payload, that is the data received from the upper layer, here the transport layer, in the network layer packet. They have to encapsulate the transport layer segment in the network layer packet at the source, and at the destination part the encapsulated packet or the payload has to be decapsulated by the network layer, and the packet has to be delivered to the next upper higher layer at the destination. So in simpler words, at the source encapsulation is done, at the destination the decapsulation is done. Let us look into the operation here. The upper layer here is a transport layer. So the network layer receives the payload from the upper layer and it will encapsulate the payload in the network layer packet, and it will forward the data in the network. So at the receiver layer, I have not shown the connecting devices in between, but there can be a possibility of connecting devices in between which will process the data in a different way altogether. So at the destination part, the network layer packet is received at the network layer, wherein it will perform the decapsulation, that is it will remove the network layer information that is added at the source, and it will deliver the payload to the next upper layer, that is the transport layer. So here we can conclude that the network layer receives the packet or receives the upper layer information or data, and it will perform the decapsulation. It will perform the encapsulation by adding its own network layer information in terms of header and at the receiver layer, and it will deliver it to the data link layer. And the data is received from the data link layer and it is decapsulated at the network layer and it is given to the next higher layer. Next we will consider the concept of routing as well as forwarding. So coming to routing, the network layer at the source or at the destination is responsible for routing a packet from the source to the destination. The term routing here means that delivery of the data from one point to the next point. So here the term routing is global. Why? Because the network layer is responsible for end-to-end delivery, that is source to destination delivery. Thus the term routing of the packet here means the movement of the packet from source to the destination. The network layer takes up the responsibility. So any physical network we are speaking of is typically a combination of local area networks and the wide area networks. And in between there is a combination of different connecting devices that are available. Since we are speaking of network layer services, the network layer switch that is 3-layer switch, or sometimes it is also referred as routers, which will connect the two different networks, that is local area networks as well as the wide area networks. Thus, the network layer here is responsible for the movement in order to felicitate the routing process. First, it has to find the one possible route which is feasible for the communication. As I have clearly stated, there is a combination of physical network is a combination of local area networks as well as a wide area networks. There can be n number of routes that are present, but the network, it is a responsibility of the network layer to identify one route among the possible routes that is best for the routing. So this is usually implemented by this process of selecting a route is usually implemented by some of the routing protocols, which we'll discuss in the subsequent sections, wherein it will have a specific strategy for defining the best route. And all these routers will communicate and coordinate among themselves in terms of sharing the knowledge about their neighborhood, and will come up with a consistent table which is used for the packet transmission. So we shall discuss the more in-depth discussion of concepts on routing protocols in the coming sections. So the second function is the forwarding function. As we have clearly stated, the routing and forwarding, even though they sound similar, in terms of implementation it is different. So the term routing here is the process of applying the different strategies and techniques and executing or running routing protocols to create an decision making table for each router. That is, the routing algorithms will be executed at the router part in order to create a table which will have the information regarding the possible routes for the packet movement. So the term forwarding here is nothing but it is a action version of the routing. That is, forwarding is an action that is applied by each router when a packet arrives at one of its interfaces. So routing is before section or before part wherein I'll have the information regarding the possible routes on which the data could be forwarded. The forwarding is a process of making use of the existing information in the routing table in order to felicitate the movement of packets or the forwarding of the packets. So here the decision making table at the router part usually implements the forwarding function by an action in terms of the forwarding table. Sometimes it is also called as a routing table. So whenever a router receives a packet from one of the attached networks, it either has to forward the packet to an individual network or it has to forward the packet to the attached networks. So here I made use of plural and singular here. The term attached network means you are performing the forwarding to a single network. So this is a unicast condition. If you are forwarding the data to the attached networks, that is more number of networks that are connected to it, then the term multicasting routing is used. So to make the decisions here, the router will use the information that is contained in the packet header. So which can be in terms of the destination address, or it could be a flow label that is being used in order to find out on which particular output interface the data has to be forwarded. So let us look into the functioning of the forwarding operation here. How exactly the forwarding process is implemented. So this is the forwarding table which is maintained at the router. So here I have considered an router which has four interfaces or four links which are connected to it. That means the router is connecting four different networks. Here, if some host on network 1 will send a packet with a destination address B, then the router will look into the forwarding table to find out on which particular port the routing has to be done in order to reach the individual value. So here the forwarding value is B. For that particular forwarding value, any information that is received on the interface 1 with the destination address of B has to be forwarded on the output interface 2. That means if any data that has to be conveyed to the destination with the destination address of B, that has to be sent on the output interface of 2. Thus the data is forwarded here. So next address will be incorporated here. So this is the address to which the next frame has to be forwarded. So any frame that is received here, or any data packet payload that is received here with the destination address of B, has to be forwarded on the output interface of 2. This is how the forwarding process is implemented. So thus the forwarding table is used to make the decision or make an action in order to send the packet on a specific interface. So for the forwarding value of B, the packet has to be sent out of the interface 2. So this decision is made at the router by making use of the forwarding table. So next we shall consider the other services that are offered by the network layer. The first service is the error control. So we have already specified or discussed in brief regarding the error control responsibilities of the data link layer. So which involves two different operations, that is error detection and error correction. So error control could also be implemented at the network layer, but the designers of the network layer have ignored the concept of error control at network layer because of two or three reasons. The first reason is that since routers which are connecting devices are capable of fragmenting the data here, it is not feasible option to make the error checking at individual routers. Thus, whenever one want to implement the error control mechanism, it has to be implemented at either at the source or at the destination. But since the routers which are intermediate devices have the capability of the fragmenting the data dependent on the network conditions, if the data is too long, the routers can take a decision of fragmenting the data into a smaller packets. Thus, if they perform this operation of fragmenting, the process of error control as well as error detection as well as error correction becomes a tedious process at individual router level, and at the same time it will make the error checking operation as inefficient. However, the designers of the network layer have added a field to the datagram which is called as a checksum field in order to identify any corruption that is occurred at the header level but not the whole datagram. So here the error detection or the error correction principle is confined, or the error control is confined only to the additional option that is provided in IP protocol in order to have the checksum for the headers, that is the specific information added by the network layer, and it will not cover the entire whole datagram. So thus we can mention that internet makes use of and additionally one more protocol that is being used, which is internet control message protocol, which is an auxiliary internet protocol at network layer, which provides a kind of error control mechanisms whenever the datagram is either discarded or some of the fields are unknown in the header. On that note, ICMP provides the service which is very much similar to the error control. The second service that is offered at the network layer is in terms of flow control. As we have defined, the flow control is nothing but is a process of regulating the data rate at the source so that there is no overwhelming operation is carried out at this receiver. That is nothing but if the sender is sending the data at the higher rate, than the receiving rate of the receiver, then the data will be lost at the receiver part. Thus, the network layer in internet specifically will not provide any flow control mechanisms. If the upper layer in the source computer is providing the data at the higher rate or the faster than the upper layer of the destination, in that node, the receiver is said to be overwhelmed by the data that is sent by the center. Thus, in order to control the flow of data, either the receiver has to have some feedback mechanism with the sender in order to inform them regarding the overwhelming operation that is occurring at the receiver side. In the network layer, there is no specific operations that are implemented to carry out the flow control, but the datagram that is sent by the sender is sent right away without any attention that is given to the receiver. So there is no flow control implemented at network layer means as soon as the source network layer receives the data and it performs the encapsulation, the data is sent right away. It will not check whether the receiver is ready or not. So because of the lack of flow control at the network layer, there are few reasons that are incorporated. So the first reason is that since there is no error control specific implementation is done at the network layer, at the receiver side, the responsibility of network layer is simple so that it is very rare condition that overwhelming is done. That means the amount of processing that is done at the receiver's network layer is less since it is not checking for error. Thus, it is very rare condition that overwhelming will be done. That is the first layer we are considering. Second, the upper layers are already makes use of the services that is provided by the network layer. They can make use of the buffers in order to temporarily store the data from the network layer. Because of this buffering option that is being provided, so flow control is not a must and should service that has to be provided at the network layer. And finally, since the upper layer, that is transport layer, offers most of the protocols in the transport layer offers the flow control mechanism, because of which the replication of the same operation again at the network layer will make the operation more complicated. At the same time, the system will become less efficient. The third service that is offered is in terms of congestion control. So congestion in the network is nothing but it is a situation in which there are more number of datagrams present in any area of the network than which is crossing the limits in terms of the amount of data that could be handled. So congestion is a scenario wherein I have more of information, more of data than what I can consume, what I can process. So on that note, the situation is referred as a congestion. So congestion occurs in the network because of the either because of the number of datagrams that is sent by the computer is exceeding the capacity of the network or the routers, or some of the routers may be dropping some of the datagrams because of the overloading the capacity of them. If a router can receive 10 packets at any given instant of time, if the data is coming at a rate greater than 10 packets, if I'm receiving more than 10 packets at any given instant of time, so all the extra packets after 10 are discarded. On that note, once again, because of the error control mechanism that is implemented at the higher layer, the sender is forced to send the duplicates of the lost packets. Thus, that will create a congestion furthermore, will increase the impact of the congestion furthermore. It may reach that particular congestion situation may reach a point in which the system may collapse and none of the datagrams are provided. So this happens because since every packet that is being dropped the is dropped at the router because of the congestion, the new duplicate packet will come is generated by the source. So more and more packets that are dropped by the router, more and more new packets are generated by the source because of the higher layer error control mechanisms. So because of that, it will increase the burden furthermore, which will lead to a situation wherein the system may collapse, and it can reach up to an extent in which none of the datagrams are forwarded in the implementation. So the next service that is offered by network layer is in terms of the quality of service. Since in day-to-day life, internet is providing many of the widespread applications in day-to-day life in terms of multimedia applications. For example, the real-time communication, exchange of audio signals and video signals. The quality of service becomes one of the more important parameter that has to be addressed. The internet has consistently trying hard to provide the better quality of service in terms in order to support the any kind of multimedia applications. So since the network layer was in action before the multimedia application came into picture, there were very few operations in order to keep the network layer untouched. These are usually implemented. The quality of service are usually implemented at the upper layer because the complete implementation is defined in terms of software. And the last service that is offered by the network layer is in terms of the security. So the communication at the network layer has to ensure an end-to-end security here. The security was not a concern when initially the internet was designed, since only the limited number of users were making use of the services provided by the internet. But as the network layer evolved over the years to provide the security, specifically in the connectionless networks, there is need for one more level of implementation which will offer the security for the connectionless services. So to provide the security for connectionless service, a virtual layer which is called as IPsec, which is a secure version of IP layer protocol, is designed which will provide which will provide the services in terms of security requirements for any individual users in a network. Layer service that is provided in terms of the packet switching. So from the discussions we had on the routing as well as the forwarding in the previous section, so we can say that the process of switching at the network layer is implemented by making use of a router. So the process in terms of switching here at the router level means creation of a connection from an input port to an output port, or to a set of output ports. If you are making use of a unicast scenario, or we are performing the unicast routing, on that note, the router establishes switching from an input port to an single output port. But if you are operating in a multicast routing scenario, so the switching will happen from an input port to a set of output ports. This is pretty much similar to the principle of operation of an electrical switch. So here, the data communication, the switching is broadly categorized into the circuit switching concept as well as the packet switching concept. At the network layer, only the packet switching concept is used, since the unit of communication at the network layer is a packet. And subsequently, the other category, which is circuit switching, is usually implemented at the physical layer, as the electrical switch which we have mentioned will enable the communication in terms of establishment of the circuit before the communication. Thus The physical layer is responsible for the circuit switching operation. Since the data unit we are speaking of at the network layer is in terms of packets, so the packet is switched from one input port to either one output port or to a set of output ports. The term we are using for the switching here is called as packet switching, which is implemented at the network layer. So thus at the network layer, the data or the message from the upper layer is divided into a manageable set of packets, and each packet is sent to the network. And here the source identifies the destination to which the packet has to be sent, and the destination knows from which source it has received the data. But since we have interconnecting devices in between which are connecting two different networks here, the connecting devices in the packet switching network has to make a decision in order to find the possible routes in which the packet has to be forwarded or routed in order to reach the intended destination. Thus, it is a responsibility of a source to send the packet one by one, and at the same time the destination has to receive the packet one by one. Thus, we have spoken the upper layer message is divided into manageable number of packets. At the destination part, the destination has to wait until all the packets belonging to a single message is received or is arrived before it delivers the packet to the next upper layer. So in today's internet concept, the packet switching network makes use of two different approaches in order to route the packets. So first one is the datagram approach, which is also called as the connectionless service, and the second one is the virtual circuit approach, which is connection oriented service. We shall discuss each of this topic in detail. So we shall consider the concept of datagram approach, in which the datagram or the packet will take the multiple hops to reach the destination. So here the operation is implemented in a connectionless manner. That is why the datagram approach is also called as the connectionless service in packet switching networks. So coming to datagram approach, the initial days of internet, in order to make the operation of internet simpler, the network layer was designed to have the connectionless service here. And at the network layer protocol, each packet is treated independently. The term connectionless here means that the source and destination, in order to have a communication, it is not required to have a physical connection established before starting of the communication. So in connectionless service, that clearly means each of the packet are treated independently. That means if sender is sending a packet in a order, it is not required to receive the packets in the same order. As it is a connectionless service, each of the packet can take independent different paths and reach the destination. Because of that, the network layer protocol will treat each of the packets independently. Thus, at the same time here, even though we are speaking of independent transmission, independent movement of the packets, the network layer here is responsible only for the delivery of the packet from source to the destination. So here, when we spoke of term independent movement, the packets belonging to the message may or may not travel the same path to reach their destination. For example, station A is communicating to station B in a network. In the connectionless approach, there might be n number of connecting devices that are present, and thus it can have the n number of possible routes to reach the destination. So if first packet goes in a one independent path, the second packet may go in a different path altogether, or it may follow the first path also. But there is no rule, or there is no restriction on packet movement in terms of belonging to the individual specific message or not. Thus, the packet may or may not travel the same path to reach the particular destination. So we'll consider a situation in order to understand this. So I have considered an sender as well as a receiver in this, which will travel, the packet from the sender will travel across the network, which comprises of around 5 routers here, in order to reach the intended destination. Since it is providing, the network layer is providing a connectionless service, each of the packet in the internet is an independent entity. Thus, from one packet to the another packet, there is no relationship even though it belongs to the same message. Thus, the switches in the network, which are called as routers, the packet belonging to the message may be followed by the packet belonging to the same message, or it can be followed by the packet belonging to the different message. Thus, a packet may be followed by the packet from the same source or from the different source. So here the packet is routed dependent on the information that is contained in the header of the packet, such as the source and destination address. So usually the destination address identifies where exactly the packet is going, and source address defines where it has came from. So the router in this situation route the packet usually dependent on the destination address of the packet, but the source address is used in order to send the error message in case the packet is discarded. So the routers make use of the destination address to find a path to reach the intended destination. So let us elaborate the same approach by making use of this particular diagram. For example, so this is the source. This is the source which want to communicate to this particular destination by making use of the packet switching using the datagram approach. On that note, the network layer of the source is communicating to the network layer of the destination. So thus network layer will ensure the host to host delivery, that is source to destination delivery here. For example, at the network layer, a packet is generated which may be belonging to the same message, which may be belonging to the different message. Since the network layer fragments, or it divides the message from the upper layer into the subsequent packets that are manageable units, which are called as packets. So here, as we can see, the packet 1 from the source is traveled across the router 1, router 5 and router 4 in order to reach the ultimate destination here. Next, if we consider the second packet that is generated, this may be belonging to the same message or to the different message. It took the different path altogether. So it traveled across router 1, router 2, router 4 and it reached the destination. So this is the definition, this is the term which we referred it as independent. Now packet 1 was independent of packet 2 since they traveled different paths altogether. So here packet 1 may be belonging to same message or the different message as that of the packet 2. Let us consider the next packet that is labeled as packet number 3, which takes a different path altogether to reach the destination again through R1, R3, R4 and the destination. Finally, we have the last packet which travels across R1, R3, R4 and reaches the destination. So if you remember the order in which the packets were sent at the source, we followed the order of 1, 2, 3 and 4, but at the receiver side the frames were received in a different order because of the different paths they are taking. So 2 arrived first, followed by the 4, followed by the 3 and followed by the 1. One was the first packet was reached last when it comes to the destination part. Thus, there is no specific order in which the packets are received. So what your destination has to do, it has to wait until the packets corresponding to a message, all the packets corresponding to the message are received. After that only it can process the information and pass the information or the data to the message to the next upper layer. So let us look into how exactly the datagram forwarding process is implemented in the routers when we are making use of the datagram approach or the connectionless service. So once again, we have the forwarding table which has two columns. One is the forwarding value and the second one is the output interface. So we have a router with 4 ports. So it receives the data on interface 1, which is having the source address as well as the destination address. So if the destination address is B here, on that note, the router will check the forwarding value. If it is matching with the B, this particular frame has to be forwarded on the output interface 2. Thus, the same will be forwarded on output interface 2 to the next particular device. So here the datagram approach, the forwarding is done based on the destination address that is present in the packet. So dependent on the entry that is there in the IP packet, that is destination address entry in the IP packet, the forwarding decision is made at the router level by referring the forwarding table. Next we shall consider the second case, which is called as the virtual circuit approach, also referred as connection oriented service. So in this case, the communication, in order to have the communication, one has to have the virtual circuit or an logical connection between the source and destination established before communicating or before beginning any communication. So as we had referred, the connection oriented service here means it is in operational principles, it is opposite to that what we have implemented in the connectionless services. So in connectionless services, each of the packets are independent of each other. That means even though they are belonging to the same message, they were not following the same path, they are not taking the same route to reach the destination. That was the intent, or that was a principle of operation in the datagram approach. But when we are speaking of connection oriented service, all the packets that belongs to a message are having a kind of relationship. There is a relationship between all the packets that is belonging to a packet. So thus the connection oriented service here is also referred as the virtual circuit approach. So in order to communicate, in order to enable the communication between the source and the destination, before the transmission of the datagrams, the virtual connection has to be set up, which will define the route or the path in which the datagrams will be traversed in order to reach the intended destination. And it operates in a different phases. The first phase is a connection setup phase, wherein all the datagrams belonging to the message has to follow the same path. In this particular type of service, the packet must and should have the source and the destination address. Along with this, it has to have one more identifier, which is called as a flow label, which also states a virtual circuit identifier. So this virtual circuit identifier will mention which path has to be taken in order to reach the destination. So thus all the packets belonging to the message will have a same flow label or a virtual circuit identifier, which will have the information regarding the path which has to be traversed in order to reach the destination. So during the data transfer phase here, parts of the internet, or now you may get a question raising that why we need to have two different entities. Already we had source and destination addresses. In addition to that, why exactly we need flow labels? So even though we say that we are following a connection oriented service, or we are offering the connection oriented service here, the part of the networks in which the datagram is traversing might not be making use of the same connection oriented service. They might be implementing connectionless services. So because of that, in order to have the interoperability, the addresses are maintained here, that is source and the destination addresses. So let us look into the operational principle or illustration of how exactly the connection oriented service is implemented. I'll consider the same network example wherein I have a source which is communicating to the destination via 5 routers network, which is a connection oriented packet switching network. In this case, first the connection is set up, that is virtual connection is set up between the source and destination before sending any particular datagram. Once this is identified, so this will show which particular path has to be taken in order to reach the destination, so that the packet knows the path in which they are being forwarded. So if I have 4 packets again here, all the packets belonging to the a particular message will take the same paths in order to reach the destination. So the path that is chosen in this particular case is from source to router R1, R1 to R3, R3 to R4, then it will reach the destination. So one significant difference you can identify with and which you can compare with respect to the datagram approach is that even though in the datagram approach the data were sent in the order, the same was not true with respect to the destination. The data were not received in the same order in which they are sent. So we had out of order sequence at the receiver part. But by making use of virtual circuit approach, the data is received in the same order in which it was sent. You can see the pattern here. The first packet was sent first, followed by the second, third, and fourth. They are received in the same order in which they were. So the forwarding process in the router with respect to the virtual circuit packet switch network, as we have already stated, here the forwarding is done dependent on the label that is present in the any particular packet corresponding to the message. Thus, we have in the forwarding table 4 columns that are there, two for incoming and 2 for outgoing, which will have the mapping from port to the label. That means dependent on the label that is there in the packet, the information will be conveyed on a particular port number or the interface. Thus, if you can clearly see here, this is the actual message we had. Along with the source address and the destination address, we have an additional identifier, which is L1, which is a virtual circuit identifier, which is received on a router on port number 1. Once it refers the forwarding table, it will map all the frames or all the packets corresponding to the label L1 has to be on the incoming port, has to be forwarded on the port number 2 with a label of L2. Thus, the router will forward this message and change the label to L2. L2 is now will be having the intimation or identifier regarding the next interface to which the frame has to be sent. So this is called as the incoming label and this is called as the outgoing label. So by looking this incoming label, forwarding table can, or the router can take a decision dependent on which output port it has to be interfaced, and this outgoing label is made use by the destination or the next device in order to map once again to the next label. So dependent on here, it is the combination of the source and destination address, along with that the virtual identifier, circuit identifier is used to identify the specific route in which the packet has to be forwarded. So one can identify here, for a source, any message that is being sent, L1 remains the same. For all the set of packets, we consider 4 packets there. Since all the 4 packets are belonging to the same message, the incoming label will be the same and outgoing label will be the same. Because of that, all the packets followed the same route in order to reach the destination. So here, the datagram approach, the forwarding decision is made dependent on the label of the packet. So earlier, the forwarding decision, earlier in the datagram approach, the forwarding decision is made dependent on the destination address of the packet. But in the datagram approach, it is made on the forwarding is made dependent on the label that is present in the packet, which is an virtual circuit identifier. So the virtual circuit, in order to have the connection, in order to facilitate the connection oriented service, there are 3 phases in which the operation is implemented. The first phase is called as setup phase. In the setup phase, the source and the destination address of the sender and destination are made use in order to establish in order to create and table entries for the connection oriented service. So it will set up an virtual connection between the source and destination dependent on the addresses of the same. The second approach is the data transfer. So data transfer is a case in which there is a data, once the connection setup is over, the data transfer begins. And once the data transfer is complete, the last phase is referred as a tear down phase, in which the source and destination will intimate the router to delete the corresponding entries. That means the data transfer is complete. You can eliminate or you can terminate the virtual circuit that is being created. So at the setup phase, the virtual circuit is connected, and using that virtual circuit on that particular virtual circuit, the data transfer will happen. Once the data transfer is over, the tear down phase will eliminate or will terminate the virtual circuit that is being created. Let us look in detail the operational principle of each of these cases. So first we will consider the setup phase. So in the setup phase, the router will create an entry for virtual circuit. That means the entry will be having the flow label followed by the port number, both for the incoming case as well as for the outgoing case. For example, let us consider A want to create a virtual circuit to B. There are 2 different packets that are exchanged in the setup phase in order to create an entry in the forwarding table in terms of the label as well as the port number. So first packet, auxiliary packet, is called as a request packet, which will traverse from source to the destination, and second auxiliary packet is called as acknowledgement packet, which will traverse from the destination to the source. So let us look into in detail the operational phenomena of the request packet. So I have a source and destination. I have considered the same configuration again. So the setup phase could be the operation of a setup phase can be elaborated in 4 different steps here. In the first step, this is the virtual circuit that has to be created between source and the destination. The first, and this indicates the port numbers on which the communication has to happen. First, the source will send a request packet to router R1. So at the router 1, in the first step, the host has sent a request packet to the route R1, which will have the following information. So the information, the request was received on the port 1, and it has labeled this particular virtual circuit identifier as 14, and this virtual circuit identifier is from host to the router 1. So for every individual incoming message or packet with the label 14, has to be forwarded on port number 3, but it is not been labeled because this outgoing label has to be decided by the destination part. So in the second step, router R1 receives the message from the host. Now it know that any packet that is coming from A to B has to go through the interface 3 or port number 3. So we'll assume that we already know on which port the communication has to be done. So the router will create an entry in this case, but it will fill only the 3 of the 4 columns. So port number 1 is having an identifier of 14, which will be having port number 3. So router R3, in the second step, router R3 will receive the frame from the setup request frame from router R1 on port number 1. Thus, it will label the incoming label or incoming message packet label from A to B as 66, and that is forwarded on interface 3. Next, this will continue with the communication between R3 and R4. Now, the R4 has labeled any message from A to B as label 22 received on a port number 1, and same has to be forwarded on port number 4. And at the receiver part, it is so that was more with respect to the setup request phase. Now let us consider the second auxiliary packet that is exchanged in the setup phase, which is called as the acknowledgement packet, which will complete, if you can remember, in the setup request phase, only 3 columns are filled, that is incoming port, incoming label, outgoing port, but outgoing label was not identified. So now that is completed by making use of acknowledgement phase. So once again we have the same network here. The only difference is that now the communication will begin from the destination to the receiver, because the acknowledgement will be traveling from the destination to the receiver. So in the first step, these entries were already there. That is, if the incoming port for a communication between A and B, the incoming port was 1 at router R4 and the label was 22 and outgoing port was 4. Now the destination will assign a label to this. So the outgoing port label is 77, and the same will be continued again. In the second step, the same will be forwarded to R3. Now one subsequent change you have to identify here. The incoming port has been now changed to 66, and for this connection, for this virtual connection between R4 to host, the label was 77. For this connection, the label now is 22. In the third step, it will create a label for communication between R1 and R3 as 66. In the last phase, it will be labeling it as 14. So in this way, the table will be complete in the subsequent routers, that is R1, R3 and R2 and R4. So let us consider now that setup phase is complete. Setup phase will establish the virtual circuit connection between source and the destination, so that each of the router knows for communication between A and B which is the incoming port and which is the virtual identifier, that is label, and which is the outgoing port and which is the outgoing flow variable or virtual circuit identifier. So once the setup phase is complete, now the data transfer phase can identify will continue. Since already the virtual circuit is created here along the path from source A to R1, R1 to R3, R3 to R4 and to the destination. Now the host will send the data with the source and destination address. A is a source and B is a destination. Along with that, it will label this particular packet or this particular message with an identifier of 14. This is what we had considered earlier. So once the router receives this particular message, any particular packet that is having the label 14 at the received at the port 1 has to be forwarded on port number 3 with the label 66. Now the message changes its label. So for this connection, label was 14. From R1 to R3, the label is 66. But the label is changed. The communication between A and B is not changed. Only the label flow identifier is changed. So at R3, once again, the label will change. Now the label is changed from 66 to 22, dependent on the entries we had. And finally, it will reach the destination. Here the label, once again, it will be changed between 77. So using this particular identifier that has been used is not for the single packet. This could be, the process is same if you have one packet, two packets, or hundreds of packets. So source computer uses the same label, that is label 14, which is received at the router R1 while setup phase. The router R1 will forward the packet to R3 with a label of 66, and router R3 will forward the frame to the packet to R4 with a label of 22, and router R4 will forward the packet to the destination with a label 77. So all of the messages, all of the packets in this particular message will follow the same sequence of labels. So if the message is broken into 10 packets, all the 10 packets between host that is A to B will be having label 14. Between R1 to R3 it will have the same label of 66, and the same way the operation continues. Next we shall consider the last phase, which is called as a tear down phase. So in the tear down phase, once the communication is over, source A, after completing all the packets that is being sent, will send a special packet which is called as a tear down packet. And once the destination receives the tear down packet, it will respond with a confirmation packet. So as the confirmation packet traverses in the network from destination to source, each of the routers which are receiving this tear down packet, that is confirmation packet, will delete the entry corresponding to that particular connection. So the entry comprises of the port numbers, it comprises of the flow identifiers corresponding to that particular virtual circuit. So once the communication is over, the tear down phase is initiated by the source and it is completed by the destination. So it involves the router eliminating or discarding the entries corresponding to that particular virtual connection. So in this particular video, we had considered the concepts related to the network layer services in terms of packetizing, how exactly the packetizing is implemented. We considered the function in terms of routing and forwarding, and we consider other services such as error control, flow control, congestion control, and security. And we consider the concept of packet switching, how it is different from circuit switching. We consider two approaches in which the packet switching is implemented at the network layer, by making use of datagram approach and in the virtual circuit approach. So in the coming lectures, we'll consider the concept of network layer performance in terms of different parameters such as delays, throughput, and queues. And we'll consider the concept of IPv4 address. For this presentation, I have made use of the templates I have downloaded from the website Slide Carnivals, which provides the free templates for all of your presentation needs. Kindly visit if you like this particular template, this is a customized template that could be made use according to your needs. You can download the free template from the website. So if you like this particular video, please do like the video, share among your friends, and subscribe to my channel for the future contents. Thank you.